Hey, this is Mike from West Coast Metal, and I'm here today with Spencer McIntosh, bass player of Truent. Truent are a four-piece metal band from Maple Ridge, British Columbia. They play a really interesting blend of thrash, groove, and death metal, quoting Revocation, Gojira, and Lamb of God as their influences. They released their first EP, Faith in the Forgotten, in 2017, and their newest release, entitled To End an Ancient Way of Life, came out in September 2018. They're one of our favorites here at West Coast Metal. Their new release is absolutely killer. So, Spencer, thank you so much for joining.
Fantastic, man. Thank you for having me.
Why don't we first start out with kind of your introduction to music, your musical background and everything. So, was music a big part of your life since the beginning, or where did that come in? Was it played a lot around the house?
From a very early age, I was definitely drawn to music. I remember as early as like 2 years old, my parents had to cancel the cable that we had in the house because I would not stop watching, funnily enough, the country music channel. I was addicted to it for whatever reason as a 2-year-old little kid. And so I guess that was actually my first introduction to music, even though I don't remember it. The first kind of like heavier stuff I remember hearing was a few years later when my cousin showed me Minutes to Midnight, the Linkin Park album.
Oh, yeah, classic.
And that was my jam for quite a few years. I loved that album. I thought Linkin Park was like the heaviest, most hardcore shit going. And then a couple of years later, stumbled across like kind of the classic bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Black Sabbath, Rush. Rush still remains one of my all-time favorites. But yeah, I just kind of moved backwards in time to like the old school stuff before eventually throughout like high school and stuff pushing forward with all the guys in Truent. Our tastes actually kind of evolved together as a unit through like thrash metal, more into progressive stuff, into like death metal, and kind of the stuff that influences us today as a band to create what we do.
Right. And where did the bass guitar come in?
I think I was 9 or 10, and I watched an Iron Maiden video. I think it was Number of the Beast. And I just remember thinking Steve Harris looked so cool, and I wanted to do that. So for my birthday that year, my parents rented me a bass for a couple months, and I just kind of fell in love. It took right off with me, and I saved up a whole bunch of paper route money to eventually buy I think it was like a shitty Squier P bass that I bought, and just took off from there.
Did you ever mess around with any other instruments, or just kind of fell in love with the bass right away?
I fell in love with the bass right off the bat. I took like piano lessons and stuff when I was younger, and I fiddle around with other instruments today. I play some drums, play some guitar. I'm not a wonderful guitar player because I started on bass, but that's what having actual good guitar players is for.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a guitar player, it's kind of easier to switch to bass, but once you're on the bass, like your hands just kind of get used to like the big chunkiness of the bass. Trying to switch over to the fancy guitar with like much smaller strings and everything just makes it so much harder.
Yeah, and I've got big hands too, so it just feels weird when I pick up a guitar.
So, where did Truent come around? How did the band get started? I think you mentioned in high school.
Yes, we got started in early high school. I met Matt, our lead guitar player, in the 8th grade, and actually my first introduction to him was pushing him out of my way in the hallway, because I think he had the locker below mine, and I don't know why I was such a dick at 13 years old, but I just saw that he was in my way and pushed him out of the way. Apparently wasn't very nice back then, but later I saw him in the music room, and he was playing guitar. He was playing like the solo from Crazy Train or something. And I was like, oh, man, I got to be friends with that kid. He's really good. So from there, I kind of apologized. Oh, hey, man, I'm really sorry that, I pushed you all the way there.
Yeah.
And eventually,
common ground.
Yeah, we became friends. We started hanging out and like playing music together. We didn't really have anybody else at that point, so it was just like guitar and bass jams. It was obviously not very good, but yeah. From there, we met Johnny, I think, the next year when he was in my English class or something, and he was like, "Oh, you got like you starting a band?" Like, yeah. So I think he begged us for like several months to join our band, and we finally let him in, and that was probably the best decision we've ever made, because to this day he remains like a serious driving force of the creativity of this entire unit. But yeah, and I think we cycled through like 6 or 7 different drummers in high school before we finally got Nick in the band. We stole him from a different band that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
At our school at that time. He was like the only drummer. I think there was a battle of the bands one year where he was in every band that played.
Yeah, the one drummer in Maple Ridge.
Yeah, he was like the only drummer in all of Ridge. We had burned through every other drummer by the time we hit, like, I think the 11th grade. And yeah, he was the last one.
Right.
He was in every single band. But yeah, that lineup since, I think that must have been 2015. Yeah, 2015. It's been that solid same lineup.
Yeah. It's so cool. Like, people who grow up together and then start playing music and kind of, like you said, go through their phases together.
Yeah.
Like, your guys' I guess like musical taste has just kind of all shifted and melded together.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like we all listen to the exact same stuff. We all kind of branch out into our own little weird kind of side directions in our musical tastes, and that's kind of what brings certain elements, like different elements, new elements into our sound. Like Johnny and Matt really like to push kind of the more technical side of things. They love tech. They're huge. We're all huge of Archspire, but especially them. They worship that band and know all their songs, and they love to push kind of the technical aspect, whereas me and Nick kind of push the more like groove aspect in there. So that kind of all melds into our like thrash and death common ground.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to hear like how all fits together, right? And you can definitely tell on the EPs that there's different kind of styles mixing together here, but it works out like awesomely, right? Like,
thank you. Yeah.
And I kind of has like your signature kind of sound, right? Like that. It's just like so much going on, and then, but it's all like kind of mixed together very smoothly.
Yeah, that's kind of what we aim for, is a good diversity and a wide range of styles to cover, because there's so much good stuff going on in heavy music. It just feels right for us to, and maybe it's not right for us, but we kind of want to dip our hands in almost every single subgenre, because there's so much going on that we just love. Yeah. We want to hear for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, man, the like I said, the new release, you can definitely tell that, and it works out really well. So,
thank you.
You guys just got off the road with Obsidian.
We did.
Of British Columbia and Alberta.
Yes, just a little Western Canadian run.
Yeah. How many shows did you guys do?
I believe it was 8. Yeah, it was 8, including our release show in Vancouver. So it was a really, really awesome experience. The Obsidian guys are really great friends of ours, and they're really cool to us for the couple years that we've been playing shows in the scene now. And yeah, they're super fun, and we had a great time traveling with those guys. We all traveled in the same van, so it was super sweaty, super stinky, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice, man. Was there a particularly memorable show from that tour?
Actually, before we left town, we played one more local show in Cloverdale, the Surrey area, and it was an all-ages show, which we don't get to do very often, and that was a lot of fun. Packed, I think, like 40 to 50 kids into this tiny little room. It's like almost a coffee shop sort of setting in Surrey there, and the place just went off. Like, these young kids were just coming out and just raging. It was beautiful. It was like probably the best possible send-off for a tour that we could have gotten. But as far as out-of-town shows go, I would definitely say either Edmonton or Kelowna were kind of like the standout highlights. We had a lot of fun in all the other cities, but those crowds were particularly good to us.
So how about we jump into the new EP?
Sure.
Yeah, so like I said, To End an Ancient Way of Life came out in September 2018. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your guys' songwriting process? Do you guys do kind of more of a collaborative thing, or do you guys split up and everybody kind of has different roles? How does that work?
It's a little bit of both, actually. We kind of all have our things that we're particularly good at and that we kind of specialize in, but then we all kind of dip our hands in each other's work as far as kind of editing and saying, oh, it should be more like this, we should add this, take this away, I don't like that. We kind of, as far as the music goes, the majority of that's written by Johnny and Matt, our 2 guitar players, and then myself and Nick, our drummer, kind of handle most of the lyrics. And then kind of when we're each done our parts, we kind of take a look at each other's work and edit it and make sure that everybody's happy with everything. So it's a very democratic process that we use, very collaborative. We all started this band together. We've been a unit for a few years now, and we'd like to remain a unit where everybody contributes equally and everybody has a say. It's important to us as a band that it remains a collaborative effort and that nobody kind of take the reins a little too hard.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there's always kind of like a balance, right, of like people have their different roles and everything, but it's hard like not to have one member who kind of overpowers everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're the lyric, where you said you and the drummer are kind of the 2 lyric guys?
Yeah, we write most of the lyrics.
What is there a kind of theme to the new release?
Not necessarily as a whole album. Each individual song kind of has their own themes, but as far as like the name of the album and the title track goes, it's kind of a testament to the rise and fall of ancient civilizations and the cycle that is perpetuated by those civilizations coming and going, and kind of a reminder of the fact that it'll probably happen to modern society as well.
Right.
That's kind of one of the bigger themes, and I guess you could kind of apply that to the other songs, but that's the only song where that theme is kind of blatantly displayed.
Yeah, well, super cool, man. Like I said, it's one of my favorite releases of 2018, so if you're listening to this, check out the new release, To End an Ancient Way of Life. You can find it on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, all the major services. And yeah, I would highly recommend. What have you been listening to lately? Are there any like bands that you've kind of gotten into recently?
I've definitely been listening to a lot of the new Rivers of Nile album.
Oh, nice, man. Did you see them in Vancouver?
We all did, yeah. We all went as a band. Saw them with Revocation, because Revocation, of course, is also one of our biggest influences, one of our favorite bands.
Yeah.
Rivers of Nile, that new album, Where Owls Know My Name, is, I think, at least a couple of us in the bands pick for kind of like album of the year.
Oh, yeah, man. It's a killer album, yeah.
Oh, that's just an amazing record. And so is Revocation's new album. So those two albums have been spinning a lot, especially.
Right.
I just saw them. I kind of just stumbled upon this band that sadly broke up last year called Trap Them.
Okay.
They're kind of like a crusty, almost grindy sort of band. And their last album, Crown Feral, is just amazing. Super intense. Kind of like Nails almost.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're a super rad band. So that one's been on play a lot. The new single from Apollyon from Kelowna.
Right, yeah.
Past the Reaches of the Sun. That song is amazing. I'd probably listen to that song at least 3 times a day. That band's awesome. They're super good dudes. And they're an awesome band. I'm super excited for their new album to come out.
Nice. Yeah, so you mentioned Apollyon and Archspire.
Yeah.
What other local bands do you admire?
We are so fortunate here to have such a great scene with so many good bands. So let me just see if I can name a few off the top of my head. Drown in Ashes just put out a new album, kind of like a thrashy crossover band, like almost hardcore in a sense. But they're amazing. We played our tour homecoming show, and we played with them in Kelowna on the tour. They're awesome. Their new music's great. Cosm are really good friends of ours. They're kind of a prog metal outfit. Their music's very technical and complex, and they're insane to watch live. They're super talented and like really good pals of ours. Technical Damage, also really good friends of ours.
Yeah.
Kind of another progressive band. They played our release with us actually in Vancouver, and we've got some dates coming up with them in the relatively near future. But they're awesome. Their new album's fantastic.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going to go next. You guys got any shows coming up?
Yes, we have a festival in Surrey on October 27th. That's like a 20-plus band festival. It's got like a few of the bands I just mentioned, Drown in Ashes, Cosm, are both on that one. We're playing Cosm's CD release show in November on the 17th in Vancouver. That's at Pub 340. That's going to be a really good one. That's also with Opus Arise and Omnisite. And then we've got a handful of dates for December and the New Year that I am not at liberty to discuss yet.
All right.
They're unannounced. But, yeah, we do have more shows coming up. Lots of things coming down the pipe. Just going to keep going.
Cool, man. Yeah, sounds like lots to look forward to. Spencer, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time.
Sure, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, be sure to check out Truent's new release and catch them live. They are absolutely killer.